live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, and Waudo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, National Peace Committee asked political parties and their candidates to run issue-based campaigns ahead of the 2027 elections as presidential candidates commit to a peaceful exercise. Independent National Electoral Commission INEC says it will ensure no eligible Nigerian is left out of the 2027 elections as electoral umpire targets 100 million voters for the exercise. Plateau State government condemns fresh attacks in Mango local government area of the state, asks security agencies to intensify surveillance in the area. And social media giant Meta faces trial in the United States over claims it deliberately designed its platforms to be addictive to young people.
In our business news, FAC approves 3.07 trillion naira as July revenue allocation to federal government, state and local governments, urges governments to diversify revenue.
On Sports News tonight, NWFL Premiership champions Edo Queens get a tough draw in the 2026 WAFU B qualifiers for the Women's CAF Champions League.
From the nation's capital, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike orders demolition of structures along waterways in the nation's capital. Political campaigns for the 2027 general elections begin in Nigeria. The National Peace Committee has assembled members of political parties, stakeholders and media practitioners to sign the peace accord in Abuja, where they have been asked, and political parties have been asked, with their candidates to ensure that they run issue-based campaigns and shun fake news and disinformation capable of undermining national peace. Meanwhile, the Nigerian police force is cautioning politicians to conduct themselves responsibly and refrain from using young people to foment trouble. Our correspondent, Victoria Longjon, reports.
Activities heralding the 2027 general elections is getting into full gear as political parties prepare to sign the peace accord ahead of the flag-off of campaigns for the presidential and National Assembly elections. Members of the National Peace Committee are joined by civil society organizations, development partners, and political party chairmen and their presidential candidates.
Nigerian Armed Forces.
The Secretary to the Government of the Federation is representing President Bola Tinubu at the event. The National Peace Committee first initiated the signing of a peace accord in 2015 to make political parties and their candidates commit to peaceful general elections. The committee is rallying all presidential candidates and their parties to commit to issue-based campaigns devoid of fake news and disinformation.
A campaign based on issues that are of significant concern to Nigerians. Avoid the spread of false and fake news, personal attack and insults. Promote respect and tolerance for differences in opinion. Ensure civility and decency in public discourse and comply with the spirit and the letter of the accord.
Our moral authority to demand decorum from political actors rests squarely on our own administrative and technological preparedness. I am pleased to report that our preparation for the 2027 general elections are progressing with absolute precision. We are scaling our operational logistics to manage a massive nationwide ad hoc workforce of 1.4 million personnel across over 176,000 polling units.
However, the Nigerian police is calling for responsible campaigns, warning against the use of Nigerians to incite or cause violence.
Let us remember that political power is temporary, but Nigeria is permanent. No political victory is worse than the loss of a Nigerian life. No political ambition is worth the destruction of our communities, and no election is worth compromising the peace and the unity of our nation.
The signing of the peace accord then commences with the National Assembly and governorship candidates, the national chairman and presidential candidates, the INEC, the police, and the National Peace Committee.
Accord should shake hands with Action Alliance. Exactly. Action Democratic Party should embrace the Action People's Party. Together. The AAC should give a very warm handshake.
While the signing of the peace accord is quite significant in the electioneering process, the onus now rests on the candidate and their supporters, who are expected to implement the spirit and letter of the signed document.
Nigeria has a date with destiny, and that despite the violence, despite the kidnapping, despite the setback, Nigeria's greatness will still be achieved in our lifetime. The Nigerian politicians believe, there are many of them who believe, as one of our singers has said, they believe that they will be rich till they die. But we ordinary people must wear face mask, no matter the matter. We also are entitled to a good life.
We are committed to peaceful, transparent elections that will strengthen political stability, social harmony, economic progress, and our nation's prosperity. I encourage other political parties and political actors to do the same.
The dotted lines have been signed and commitments made yet again. But beyond the signatures and assurances being made here today, the real test will be whether these commitments are sustained as the campaigns intensify, and whether Nigeria's political actors can put the issues that matter to Nigerians ahead of violence and divisive rhetoric. From the International Conference Center, Victoria Longjon, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the candidate of the African Democratic Congress, the presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, was not present at the signing ceremony. Neither did he send a representative. But as for the presidential candidate of the Nigeria Democratic Congress, Mr. Peter Obi, he's asked the Nigerian electorate not to vote for anyone who violates the peace accord. He made the call at the signing of the National Peace Accord ahead of the lifting of the ban on political campaigns for the 2027 presidential and National Assembly elections, urging candidates to conduct themselves respectfully.
We don't even need to sign this. We're seeking an office where we should be exemplary. You can't answer His Excellency without being an excellent person. So that process that will make you to answer His Excellency should be excellent. And the only way to do it is to conduct yourself properly. Behavior, respectful, any day, anytime, must reflect that office. I don't have any fear except to say that, please, for the sake of the children of Nigeria, can we have an election where people's vote will count?
And for the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, Mr. Omoyele Sowore, he questioned the binding nature of the peace accord, citing the absence of President Bola Tinubu from the signing ceremony. Mr. Sowore, who signed the accord, remains unconvinced that the exercise will translate into peaceful campaigns.
I see that as a symbolic gesture to show to the country that we believe in free, credible, peaceful, and non-violent elections. That's why we're here. But do I believe that anything will come out of it? No, because we just came out of an off-season election in Osun State. They also signed a peace agreement, and after that they killed 50 people. And nobody's talking about it. I don't have a problem. I'm not violent. I'm not going to engage in violence. And I made that clear to the APC people when we were doing banters that they came to sign on behalf of somebody who is not here. So their own agreement is not binding on anybody. And they read everything as you listen to them saying, well, you can even be held liable. Strategically, their own candidate is not here. That means if he engages in violence, he can't be held liable because he didn't sign on to any agreement not to engage in all of the atrocities that was listed by the Peace Committee. That's the problem.
Well, the sole aim of the signing of that peace accord is to stop attacks on political participants and their supporters. The exercise is also expected to curb election violence and the use of vulgar words during campaigns and engagements as the country heads towards the general elections. Several issues were discussed at the panel session of the signing ceremony in the nation's capital, Abuja.
With persistent cycle of systemic vulnerabilities, vote buying and many other electoral malpractices that have bedeviled elections in Nigeria over the years, observers and even voters are keen on changing the tide. To achieve relative hitch-free electoral process in 2027, the National Peace Committee have asked different parties, candidates and their leaders to sign the peace accord.
Conference that was shared.
But first, a briefing to enlighten Nigerians on the importance of the accord violence-free elections.
This is the first accord. The second accord, which comes at the end, is to say we are ready to accept the results of these elections if they are free, fair, and credible. And I think it's also important that Nigerians do not become oblivious, because we are not just spectators here, we are witnesses. And so we are not going to stop people from going to court, but we can actually also begin to gather enough momentum to say, look, this is what you promised.
Looking at the turnout in Osun, let's use that as another example. Over 1 million people came out to vote out of 2.3 million registered voters. I believe that learning from the number of voters that came out, and if we have 40% voter turnout in 2027, that will significantly bring our votes to about almost 50-something million. Now, think about it. How do you buy 5,000 naira or even 2,000 naira for 50 million people?
For credible elections, the organizers say civil society organizations have vital roles to play.
We need to go all out there to aggregate the opinions of Nigerian peoples in their different diversities, as women, as youths, as students, as elderly, in terms of what they really want government to do for them.
I expect the media, as my colleague has said, to take leadership in the information space to be able to deal with this, meaning that once this thing is signed today, to engage with the process, monitoring and then keep the political parties, and their candidates on track and their spokespersons and all of that, and even their members.
The National Peace Accord in Nigeria was first introduced ahead of the 2015 general elections by the National Peace Committee, led by former military head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar and Bishop Matthew Asen Kuka, to prevent electoral violence and commit candidates to peaceful, issue-based campaigns. But in signing this latest accord, a call for a violent-free election process is resounded, with the hope that the national electoral process will occur without hitches, coming off the back of the just concluded elections in Osun State.
In part two, after the break, Independent National Electoral Commission says it will ensure no eligible Nigerian is left out of the 2027 elections, as electoral umpire targets 100 million voters for this exercise. Please join us again.
Excuse me, ma. This is your 100% in here.
Babes, are you sure you want to spend this much on hair? Didn't your landlord just increase rent? I stayed for this one separately on money points.
Ma, you say you save on money points?
Yes.
This madam money points here, the array of Yadrea, it charges savings money points I used to have it. The rest of this my sub, it feeds savings money points I used to do it. The salary of this my staff, please save as you transact.
Jennifer, money points save as you transact. Money points fix savings and money point target savings.
Why did someone who contribute to it? Come on, you go give your money to Adaku today. You see money point account here. You don't go open a savings account. Now Adaku you should. I beg everybody inside this my room. Oh, you bring out your phone and download the money point app now. Even you. What are you waiting for?
Download the money point banking app now and start saving the bank you can trust.
Money point made for your progress.
SG baby, yaga yaga. She call me party starter. Gen Z president, Yastrata. Yeah, them bad, but they know to be bada. Flies DJ no be lamba. Ya strata. Your girlfriend, I'm a drip, I'm a swag. Bastrata. Bastrata. Party starter. Bastrata. 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 Party starter. Bastrata. Bastrata.
Make some noise for Stella Twitter.
Today, I'm the CEO.
So here is your CEO for a day. She's an amazing individual and she's a worthy champion.
The reward of success.
Are you okay?
Babe, let's go. I'm not letting malaria steal our big moment.
Oh, we only the best, oh.
Say no to malaria, yes to life. Amatem Soft Gel, only the best matters.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. National Peace Committee asks political parties and their candidates to run issue-based campaigns ahead of the 2027 elections as presidential candidates commit to a peaceful exercise. Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it will ensure no eligible Nigerian is left out of the 2027 elections as electoral umpire targets 100 million voters for the exercise. And Plateau State government condemns fresh attacks in Mangu local government area of the state, asks security agencies to intensify surveillance in that area. Well, social media giant Meta faces trial in the United States over claims it deliberately designed its platform to be addictive to young people. As Nigerians prepare to go to the polls for the 2027 general elections, the campaigns for the presidential and National Assembly elections are kicking off on Wednesday, August the 19th, 2026. However, the question on many minds is not just who will run, it is how they will run. And will the 2027 elections be another season of name-calling, ethnic slurs and personal attacks? Or will it be the election where jobs, health, security and education take center stage? In this special report, our political correspondent Terry Kumi takes a look at why issue-based campaigns are important for the 2027 elections.
The 2023 presidential election had moments of policy. However, it was largely defined by something else. Campaign rallies that trended more for insults than for manifestos. Social media spaces flooded with attacks on candidates' age, health, tribe, religion and family, instead of debates on inflation, power and unemployment. Posters called opponents thieves. Speeches mocked accents, and for months, the national conversation was about who said what about whom, not how to fix the country. This was the case with the 2015 and 2019 elections, as personal attacks have long been the campaign shortcut for politicians. When campaigns focus on personalities, policies die. And when policies die, voters are left to choose based on sentiment, not solutions.
We need to advise our politicians
to base their campaign on things that will change the society, not what will destroy it.
We keep calling on the political parties to, talk about what they want to do for their people, but that didn't happen in the Osun State governorship election. That almost did not come up at all. It was basically name trading and things like that. So we continue to call on the parties and their supporters to focus on issues ahead of 2027.
Ahead of the elections, Nigerians must understand that the problems are multifaceted. Unemployment rate is above 33%. Over 130 million Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. Insecurity still displaces several communities across the country, and power supply remains epileptic. All these are more important than ethnic and religious sentiments.
Enough of religion, ethnicity, and all other mundane issues that we bring up in our campaign. Speak to the problems you want to solve and tell us what you have done in the past that recommends you for the position you are seeking now as somebody who can fix those problems.
When a candidate wins without explaining how they'll fix healthcare, they govern without a mandate to do so. Issue-based campaigns force candidates to be specific, not just promising to create jobs, but explaining how and the funding. Not just promising to secure the country, but also highlighting their plans such as police reforms, state policing, and technology. Campaigning based on issues is equivalent to signing a contract by which the winner can be held. The media has a role to stop amplifying viral insults and start amplifying policy documents. An issue-based campaign shows respect for voters, improves governance, and unites the country. As political campaigns commence, now is the time to set the tone for the 2027 general elections, not just the presidential election as we've seen in time past. Nigeria cannot afford another election of noise without solutions. So a powerful reminder to us all is that elections are job interviews and Nigerians are the employers. The challenge to all political parties as we approach 2027 is just sell your ideas and not hatred or name-calling. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
In the meantime, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has projected that Nigeria's registered voter population will exceed 100 million ahead of the 2027 general elections as it plans for a nationwide voter education and communication campaign. The INEC National Commissioner, Mohammed Haruna, disclosed this in Abuja at a joint implementation meeting of the Commission's Departments of Voter Education and Publicity and Gender and Inclusivity. Our correspondent, Gloria Umezuki, reports.
Barely hours into the official opening of the 2027 election campaigns, the Independent National Electoral Commission marshals out its key priority areas at a joint implementation meeting in Abuja.
February 6th.
The Commission projects an increase from the 93 million voters registered at the 2023 elections.
To do our job well, we arrived at my view at least three basic requirements must be fulfilled. First, we must have a grasp of the language we will to communicate. And also, when it simply towards the vote civil plan, the country as huge as Nigeria, whose voting population of over 100 million, that it was the last out for 33 million, and then by the time it reached its registration has heard the probably another 10 million. So you're looking at a voting population of over 100 million. But that makes it the largest in Africa and one of the largest in the world.
The Commission equally intensifies preparation for the 2027 general elections with a renewed commitment to ensuring that no eligible Nigerian is left behind in the electoral process.
We will actively amplify your strategies. We will expand your outreach to mainstream and social media. Women, youth, and the elderly. The elderly voters are fully operationalized at every single polling unit. The current chairman of INEC is very determined not just to move the frontiers in terms of voter education,
but to ensure that no eligible Nigerian is left behind in any election that INEC conducts under its leadership.
They are also optimistic that the current measures would further position Nigeria as Africa's largest electoral democracy.
Now, with just about 150 days to the first set of elections, INEC is doubling down on its drive to set a new benchmark and reinforce its mandate of mobilizing all Nigerians to exercise their franchise during the 2027 general elections. From Abuja, Gloria Umezuki, Channels Television News.
The news at 10 continues now in the nation's capital, Abuja, where Millicent Walker is standing by to bring us more stories. Over to you, Millicent.
Many thanks, Anne. And officials of the Federal Capital Territory have commenced the demolition of structures on waterways in the nation's capital. The exercise follows the order of the Minister of the FCT, Mr. Nyesom Wike, after inspecting areas affected by flood over the weekend. The operations commenced immediately in Maitama District with a strict directive given to the FCT Department of Development Control to clear all flagged obstructions.
Ganja Street in Maitama District is one of the worst hit areas by the flood that affected parts of the nation's capital over the weekend. According to eyewitnesses, the blocked waterway led to the heavy flood as workers collect the sand deposited by the flood. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, arrives the area to inspect the situation. The perimeter fence was impacted by the flood.
There's a drainage here, but if you can see, there's a construction going on there. And as a matter of fact, that particular place, I think, is even condemned. There's no, they have not lived any way that water will be passing. So I think that should even contribute to what is happening here.
Another part of the district affected by the flood is Nile Street, where structures are blocking the flood path. The minister's entourage makes another stop on Mississippi Street within the same district, which is a highbrow area in the nation's capital. The minister then returns to his office to brief journalists on his observations during the tour.
Unfortunately, we have gone there and we have seen how people have blocked channels where in the master plan, that is the right way where water is supposed to be channeled. People by their positions have blocked it, believing that nothing will happen. Now you have done your own by blocking the water channel and nothing has happened. Thank God the flood has come. You have drawn our attention to the place. Now something will happen. I'm going to bring those houses down. Any house that's found on the channel, water channel will go down.
Mr. Wike explains how the flood is caused by human effort, adding that the government is determined to correct the errors.
Let nobody make mistake that this government lacks the political will to do anything. The person must be making a very big mistake. If there's one minister, I have that political will. I have the political will. And what has happened today will show Nigeria that we have the political will to tackle those man-made factors.
Following the order of the minister, officials of the FCT Department of Development Control swing to action by removing all structures along the flood path in the district.
Let's go to health now, where the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohamed Partey, says the federal government will not tolerate corruption in the health sector, warning that diversion of public resources costs lives. Professor Partey stated this in Abuja during the inauguration of a joint task team between the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, established to identify vulnerabilities, strengthen preventive controls, and improve accountability across the health sector. He highlighted measures already being implemented, including the deployment of performance and financial management officers to the 774 local government areas, digital tracking of health funds, verification of beneficiaries, and stronger oversight of the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund.
This Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, we will not tolerate corruption. But an effective system does not simply respond to wrongdoing after the fact. It identifies the vulnerabilities early and closes those loopholes before the resources are lost. The federal government, as you all know, under His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is committed to delivering a health system that Nigerians can trust. One where resources are used for their intended purpose and our institutions increasingly work with the highest levels of integrity. And it's only not a destination. Building state systems, building institutions takes time. It takes a lot of effort. Sometimes you right, sometimes you falter. But the key is that you learn from every step and improve.
The establishment of this joint task team gives practical expression to the MOU between ICPC and the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare signed sometime in October 2025 and represents a shared commitment to strengthening the transparency, accountability, and integrity in Nigeria's health sector. The MOU provides a practical framework for the collaboration and preventive oversight in the management of health sector resources, particularly the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. Its purpose must be reflected in concrete outcomes. Funds allocated for primary healthcare must reach the facilities and people for whom they are intended and must be utilized transparently, efficiently, and in accordance with due process.
Still ahead on the news at 10, FAC approves 3.007 trillion naira as July revenue allocation to the federal government, states and local governments, urges governments to diversify revenue. That's coming up on Business News. Please join us again.
Morning, everyone. Here's to a top day. Here's to living the creamy and delicious life.
We go dance until the morning light. Everything is feeling right tonight. Baby.
Have a top day with Top Cafe.
Of success.
SG baby, yaga yaga. She call me party starter. Gen Z president, Yastrata. Yeah, them bad, but they know so we bada. Flies DJ, no be lamba. Yastrata. The girlfriend, I'm a drip, I'm a swag. Yaga yaga. Party starter.
Today, I'm the CEO.
So here is your CEO for a day. She's an amazing individual and she's a worthy champion.
A
Education remains a vital tool for innovation, creativity, and sustainable development. It is in line with its commitment to empowering young people with relevant skills for the future that Rivers State Government, led by His Excellency Sir Siminalayi Fubara GSSROS, Governor of Rivers State, has completed a Captain Ilechiyamade Polytechnic Entrepreneurship Center and Engineering Faculty Building. The state-of-the-art facility designed to foster entrepreneurship, innovation, and practical learning underscores the Rivers State Government's unwavering commitment to investing in human capital development. The commissioning will hold on Wednesday, 19th August 2026, time 11 a.m. Venue, Captain Ilechiyamade Polytechnic Romuala Obiapo LGA. Investment in our people is a step towards a brighter future. This is signed by Dr. Dagogo S. Ewokoma, Secretary to the State Government.
You're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from our Abuja studios. We head to security, where the Sokoto State Police Command has confirmed the death of 28 people following an attack by Lakurawa terrorists on Ngush community in Kebe local government area of the state. Police spokesperson DSP Ahmed Rufai confirmed the casualty figure on Tuesday, explaining that the pattern of the attack made it difficult to immediately establish the exact number of victims. Local sources had earlier reported that the chief imam of Ngushi Zala Jumat Mosque in Mamali was among those killed. Meanwhile, the General Officer Commanding A Division of the Nigerian Army, Major General Paul Kaguna, has conducted an assessment visit to the forward operating base in Kebe and surrounding communities. In a statement, the Acting Deputy Director, Army Public Relations 8 Division, Nigerian Army Sector 2 Operation, Fasinyama, Lieutenant Colonel Olani Oshoba, says the visit is part of a decisive effort to tackle recent threats posed by the Lakurawa terrorist group in Kebe local government area of Sokoto State. Meanwhile, residents of a community in Mango local government area of Plateau State are calling for urgent government action following the killing of 25 people in a fresh attack. 4 others were injured in that attack, which occurred in the early hours of Tuesday, leaving the community in mourning and demanding stronger security. And away from security, former Minister of Education, Mrs. Obiageli Ezekwesili, is charging African leaders to prioritize foundational learning for children across the continent. Well, speaking at the African Teachers Festival in Abuja, the former World Bank Vice President for Africa says education is a productive infrastructure which must be harnessed by African heads of state and government.
From different parts of Africa, teachers converge for the 2026 African Teachers Festival, organized by the African Missions Global, a faith-based non-profit charity founded by the wife of the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Folu Adeboye. With a focus on building Africa's next generation of innovators, teachers are asked to create a conducive environment for learners, as the need for proper learning and foundational literacy is highlighted at the festival.
It's said by UNICEF that 4 in 5 children estimates in Africa are unable to read a simple text by the age of 10. Isn't that sad? Is it not sad? Please let's respond. It's sad, very sad. And so we proceed to say schooling is not equal to learning.
In a keynote address, a former Minister of Education laments increasing poverty in learning in Africa, as she harps on the need for African leaders to see education as productive infrastructure.
This is why I have consistently argued that foundational learning must be Africa's #1 education priority. Every African child should acquire foundational literacy, foundational numeracy, and socio-economic emotional skills within the first years of schooling.
The festival breaks into a panel session as panelists share their thoughts on teaching methods.
If you want education to go everywhere, for education to be embraced, you need to find teachers who should say on a language, that this student can understand.
In Ethiopia, from KG to grade 6, I live in Ethiopia, from KG to grade 6 is being taught in their local language, Amharic and Oromifa.
Please, we we should all go back to that root, because that is how you can teach your children. They can understand even literacy, they can understand numeracy and other concepts, and you can never call a child who understands his mother tongue and is able to conceptualize things and also express himself or herself in English, because that's just the way to go.
The essence of the festival is then highlighted.
What we aim to achieve is to bring teachers across Africa together, to compare notes, to see what we are doing differently, how we are reacting to findings in the education space. When the demographic results show that Africa is the youngest continent in the world, and that Africa happens to be the fastest growing continent in the world.
We hope to achieve a whole lot of things because we intend to celebrate African teachers, and we also want to empower them, collaborate with other African teachers across Africa so that we can redefine what they know education to be in Africa. We need to write our stories by ourselves. We need to create a voice by ourselves to be able to have a universal curriculum where our students can be trained by our own teachers to be able to solve African problems.
With the future of education in Africa as the focus of the festival, the need to build an African education system that solves African problems has become imperative.
Well, away from education, it's a celebration of the rich heritage, culture and economic potentials of Nigeria's riverine communities in Delta State, as legacy of traditions and organization committed to encouraging innovation and digitization as tools for developing cultural economies, host the Benin River Live Festival at Ogbogoro community in Warri North local government area of Delta State. The Olu of Warri, Ogiame Atuashe III, the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, and the Minister of Arts, Culture, Tourism and the Creative Economy, Hannatu Musa Musawa, joined activities at the River Life Festival.
A colorful display of tradition and culture takes center stage as traditional rulers, government officials, dignitaries and other stakeholders gather at the Ogbogoro community in Warri North local government area of Delta State for the grand finale of the Benin River Live Festival. The festival, organized under the legacy of traditions, offers a platform for communities along the Benin River to showcase their identity, lifestyle, and economic potential. It also demonstrates how culture and tradition can become catalysts for innovation, tourism, commerce, and economic development.
Benin River Life is a renaissance celebration of our communities, our activities, and the festivals around riverine connectivity, culture, and commerce.
The Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, at the event announces federal government's plan to connect all riverine communities across Nigeria to the telecommunications services before the middle of 2027. On her part, the Minister of Arts, Culture, Tourism and the Creative Economy, Hannatu Musa Musawa, also reinforces the cultural and tourism dimension of the initiative.
What I'm seeing here is really in action what we can do as a community when we embrace our different traditions and different festivals.
His Excellency President Bola Ahmed approved for my ministry to ensure that every part of this country is connected, which is why we're installing 3,700 towers in rural communities and across the country, and we're starting from Ogbogoro here.
The people of Ogbogoro community are glad that the Benin River Live Festival has further positioned riverine festivals and traditions as assets for cultural tourism and economic development.
It's not just an event, it's not just a show, it's a display of unity, and we want every other community to emulate what Ogbogoro community is doing today.
The festival reaches its closing moment with various river games and boat regatta performances.
Fishing prizes, we had 6 winners. Then we had the arts competition. Destiny won the grand prize of 1 million. Then we had the river games, the 10-man paddling.
Officials of Legacy of Traditions further state that the organization will continue to promote a vision where Nigeria's riverine communities can turn their unique ways of life, natural resources, and traditions into opportunities for tourism, business, and job creation.
And that's it from the nation's capital. Back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Millicent. As mothers, wives, and leaders continue to drive development in their various towns, prioritizing their health and nutrition remain vital. Known for its long-standing commitment to maternal health, 3 Crown Milk, one of Nigeria's leading low-cholesterol dairy brands, is supporting various women assemblies with free health screenings, nutritional guidance, and vital health checks in Imo State.
It's a colorful gathering as women from across Imo State come together for the annual Women August meeting. Dressed in vibrant traditional attire, the women celebrate their rich cultural heritage through a march past, traditional dance, music, and other cultural displays, courtesy 3 Crowns Milk. Beyond the celebration, the gathering provides an opportunity for women to discuss issues affecting their families and communities while encouraging greater unity, empowerment, and participation in community development.
Today again marks the beginning of another remarkable and memorable journey as we hold our first August meeting, being sponsored by our proud company, Friesland Campina Wanko Nigeria Limited.
Today, we are going to talk to women about different things, about health, how to take care of themselves, about finance, about agriculture, about nutrition. We are also going to empower our women with items that can make them sustainable.
For many participants, the meeting remains an important platform for women to reconnect with one another, preserve cultural values, and share experiences.
Every August, our mothers, sisters, daughters, and grandmothers make the journey home, returning from cities across Nigeria and from distant corners of the world, not merely for reunion and celebration, but for something far more purposeful.
Whether we like it or not, they're the hands that rock the cradle. So whatever they teach their children, they're sure to take it out there. All right? The gifts, the match pass, the beautiful outfits. You can see me looking so good in mine. It's incredible.
Another major focus is the need for women to play a more active role in community development. Speakers encourage participants to embrace education, entrepreneurship, financial independence, and responsible leadership, while also promoting peace and cooperation within their communities.
I'm very happy today to witness this thing. I'm very, very overwhelmed. I thank God for that.
As the celebrations continue, the message is clear. Beyond the colorful display and cultural festivity, the Women August meeting remains a platform for women to strengthen relationships, preserve their heritage, and contribute meaningfully to the development of Imo State. For the women, it's not only a celebration of the past, but also a call to build a stronger future for the next generation.
Let's join Will Ebong now as she brings us through with business stories. Over to you, Will.
Thank you, Anne. On the Federation Account Allocation Committee, FAC has approved
3.007 trillion naira for the federal government, states, and local governments as revenue for July 2026. The decision was taken at FACT's August meeting in Owerri, Imo State, where the committee urged governments to turn rising revenues into lasting fiscal strength and improve social investments. Now, gross statutory revenue rose 17.8% to 4.359 trillion naira in July from 3.7 trillion naira in June, while gross VAT revenue stood at 793.97 billion naira, slightly below the previous month. FACT says the increase was driven by stronger collections from oil and non-oil sources, including petroleum profit tax, companies' income tax, and royalties. The committee also urged governments to diversify revenue, improve transparency, and invest in key areas such as health, education, and infrastructure. And now we head to the domestic equities market, which extended its losing streak for another day, with the oil share index declining by 0.35%. Here's Ini John McFarland with the details.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report, where we'll begin the report today with a little bit of news from Access Holdings. They have the permission and approval of the NGX to extend the deadline for the submission of their first half results. So you have it, Access Holdings there. They now have up to September 30, so on or before September 30 for new filing deadline. It was supposed to be June 30, and they have the approval of the NGX. They are waiting, however, the CBN regulatory approval for that. And let's see how investors have reacted to this. And so we look at the sectors. We see banking is down, but I tell you, all the other figures were down today except for Access. So perhaps there was a bit of a lack of clarity. So with that news, investors seem to have clarity, and they did invest in Access Holdings today. But all the figures dropped that counter there, 1.82%. Consumer goods is also down at the close of trade today. Dangote Sugar International Breweries experienced a lot of profit taking, and then we look at oil and gas, slightly down, not scary at all. So, but I mean, at the close of trade today, more investors took out money. They took out about 457 billion naira, and then we lost that 156 trillion naira level, and we're obviously in the red. We also lost another level here. We're now at 241. So a second day, a second win for the bear.
Thank you, Ini. What can we say? It's a bearish week. But let's check out the snapshot of closing numbers for other major stock markets now. And that's business news. I'm Will Ibong. Is back to Anne now.
Thank you, Will. Let's now join Simon Puse with more international news and around the world in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Russia has warned the UK of consequences following confirmation that British-made drones were used in recent strikes on military and industrial targets in Russia. In a statement, the Russian embassy in the UK accused Britain of deliberately opting for an escalation of the Ukraine crisis, adding that the deeper its involvement in the conflict, the higher the price it will pay. Ukraine has stepped up attacks on Moscow and elsewhere deep inside Russia, particularly targeting oil refineries and logistics sites for its key online retailer Wildberries. Russia has threatened the UK in the past over its role in providing Ukraine with drone technology, as well as Storm Shadow missiles. The Russian embassy said London's actions will inevitably carry consequences for which it will have to answer, but did not elaborate further.
In the 21st century, there are all different types of conflict. At the moment, absolutely, Putin himself says that, in effect, Russia is at war with Europe. But there is absolutely no signs that they are preparing some kind of imminent military response to that.
To be president-elect.
Zambia's president, Hakainde Hichilema, has been re-elected for a second 5-year term after securing a 60% share of the vote. Hichilema's win was widely expected, with his closest challenger, Brian Mundabile, getting 38% of the vote. The remaining 12 candidates trailed far behind. The result came after a contested process, with 55-year-old Mundabile earlier claiming victory and alleging, without providing evidence, that there had been voting irregularities.
They located where I was and fired in my direction 2 times.
Local media reported that Mundabile and his running mate had gone into self-imposed exile at a UN agency in the capital Lusaka, fearing arrest. In the opening day of Tupac Shakur's murder trial, prosecutors painted former gang leader Dwayne Keffer Davis as someone seeking revenge before masterminding the drive-by shooting that killed the iconic rapper. Witnesses took a Las Vegas jury back in time 3 decades ago to the night Shakur was shot, when gangs had a hold over 90s hip-hop and distrust in police led to a lack of cooperation. Now 63, Davis is charged with Shakur's murder. Prosecutors allege that although Davis did not fire the gun that killed the influential rapper, he allegedly orchestrated the killing. Davis has denied the allegations and pleaded not guilty. Russia's prominent anti-war politician, Lev Sholzberg, has been sentenced to 11 years and 1 month in a penal colony for discrediting the country's armed forces and spreading false information about them. Sholzberg condemned the verdict by a court in the city of Pskov, saying its only task was to punish a person for his political, public and civil position. His liberal political party, Yabloko, which he is deputy head of, said it would appeal. The ruling came just minutes before Russia's Supreme Court rejected Yabloko's appeal against a ban on it taking part in September's parliamentary elections. Flags at government sites are flying at half-mast and security vehicles are parked in the heart of Beijing as China mourns its former premier, Zhu Rongji. Zhu died of an illness last week at the age of 97 and was cremated at a funeral in Beijing on Tuesday. The ceremony, attended by senior leaders, including President Xi Jinping, was kept low-key and no footage has been released. Zhu is remembered as one of the country's most important economic reformers. A £5 million UK trial will test whether AI can help by predicting where warming contrails, the trail of smoke left behind planes, are likely to form and getting aircraft to avoid those areas. It will focus on the Shanwick Oceanic airspace in the eastern half of the North American corridor, which accounts for approximately 5% of global contrail warming. The 30-month Operation Blue Skies project brings together Google, the UK government, the Met Office, air traffic control provider National Air Traffic Services, and researchers at the University of Cambridge and Imperial College London. Contrails, also known as vapor trails, are made when the hot exhaust from aircraft engines meets the cold air at high altitude, creating ice crystals. And 30 lions and tigers that spent years in cramped cages at a shuttered Argentine zoo have begun being crated for journeys to wildlife sanctuaries in South Africa and the US. Once loaded into their crates and placed aboard cargo and passenger jets, 9 tigers and 6 lions will be flown to Lions Rock, a 4 Paws sanctuary in South Africa that houses more than 80 big cats. The remaining 8 tigers and 7 lions will travel to the Wild Animal Sanctuary in Colorado. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. NWFL Premiership champions and Nigeria's sole representatives on the continent, Edo Queens, have been handed a tough group draw in the 2026 WAFU B Women's Champions League qualifiers. The Nigerian champions will compete in Group B alongside defending champions ASEC Mimosa of Cote d'Ivoire, Apendakwa of Ghana, and GNN of Niger Republic. The biggest test for Edo Queens will be ASEC Mimosa, who won the 2025 WAFU B Women's Champions League qualifiers after defeating another Nigerian club, Bayelsa Queens, on penalty in the final. And Senegal have appointed France's 1998 World Cup winner Patrick Vieira as head coach earlier today, succeeding Papa Theo, who was dismissed after the World Cup. The federation says the appointment of Vieira, who was born in Senegal, is a strategic move aiming to establish high-level technical staff in line with the country's sporting ambitions. His main mission will be to revitalize the team after Senegal's bruising loss to Belgium in the last 32 of the World Cup. And that sports is back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. The National Peace Committee is asking political parties and their candidates to run issue-based campaigns ahead of the 2027 elections as presidential candidates commit to a peaceful exercise. The committee gave the charge at the peace signing process in Abuja. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Mwawadu. Good night.
Hello and welcome to Political Paradigm. I'm Terry Ikumi. The Osun governorship election has come and gone. It was defined by heightened security concerns, allegations of partisan use of federal institutions, and